Good evening, friends. We are back with yet another episode of Through Literary Lens. I am Rajesh Asudani Raqeeb.
Namaskar, this is Dr Vinod Asudani. Today we are going to discuss a very famous work by a Russian story writer, and we will be discussing on his story, The Bait.
Anton Chekhov, as all of you know, is a very famous Russian story writer. I'm saying is because literators never die. Huh, Vinodji?
Oh yes, that's wonderful, right? Because they are immortal souls. And Anton Chekhov's works have been translated into almost all the prominent languages of the world, including Indian languages like Hindi, Marathi, etc.
And this particular story, The Bet, is a very famous story, and I hope all of you have read or listened to this. But anyway, we will just paraphrase this story for the benefit of everybody, and then we will discuss various aspects which emerge out of that story.
There are two prominent characters in this story, the banker and the lawyer. In the beginning of the story, banker, who is millionaire at that time, throws a party which is attended by the prominent citizens of the city, including journalists, men from medicine, lawyers, etc. And they discuss various topics in the party just for the sake of entertainment. And they start discussing a very important topic, whether the death sentence is better or life imprisonment is better. So this attracts the attention of all. And the banker, who is really millionaire at that time and doesn't care for millions, boastfully remarks that the death sentence is better because it kills the person at the one time, and he is not required to suffer in the life imprisonment. But this is challenged, Rajeshji,
by various guests, and some of them opine that life imprisonment is better and it is good to live at any cost rather than be dead instantaneously. But the banker persists. He says that the butcher who kills you at once is better than a situation or a butcher who takes away your life drop by drop. And one lawyer is particularly insistent on his position, and he says that at any cost it is better to live than to perish at once. And he says, I am ready even to prove it by undergoing 5 years of solitary confinement.
15 years of the confinement.
Then he increases it to 15 years on impulse when the banker agrees.
Yes.
Hai na?
And banker agrees to pay him 2 million at the end of the solitary confinement.
And the terms and conditions are that he will live in the solitary confinement. Just one window will be there through which he will be supplied books, music, wine, and he is allowed to smoke. No human interaction is allowed at all. And he happily goes to prove his point, and he goes into the solitary confinement. What happens then?
First 1 or 2 years, he really feels that he is depressed. He suffers from agony, from depression. He tries to smoke, he tries to drink rich wine, but still he
says, wine I will not drink because it excites desire, and what is in it to drink the good wine and have no company?
Yeah, but after 3 years of the solitary confinement, he takes to the reading of various books, and almost the entire period of the confinement he goes on reading different sort of books.
First language and philosophy, then he writes a letter in the 6th year to his jailer saying that I am writing this in 6 languages, and if I am mistake free, you shoot a gun in the garden so that I know that I have mastered the languages. And he complies. He shoots 2 guns actually in the garden to let him know that he is doing very well on languages.
Then he takes to the reading of the scripture. Although this book of scripture is a very
between
small.
6th year and 10th year, Vinodji,
Yeah.
he orders for 600 volumes in 4 years.
Yeah, banker finds it very difficult to comply with his demand.
Yeah. 10th year, he remarks, he opens this Bible, study of the scriptures, Bible, and banker marvels that a person who can study 600 volumes in 4 years, why does he spend 1 whole year on reading just one thin, small scripture?
Rajeshji, I believe that the tenets of religion or scriptures, they may appear to be simple to grasp, but when we try to practice them, really they are difficult. For example, one should speak truth. It's a very difficult proposition, right? And we see that the process of transformation of this lawyer perhaps starts with this reading of scripture.
And the tenets of religions are difficult in more senses than one. Because when you say speak truth, don't commit adultery, don't steal.
Yeah.
These are not simple statements. They have multi-layered meaning depending on the context within which you operate. They are not the absolute morals as they are supposed to be, as they are projected to be.
Perhaps a lawyer is deeply pondering upon what is said in that small book of scriptures.
And then again, he in the last 2 years, he embarks on his reading journey afresh, and this time he reads virtually everything, combining chemistry with philosophy and each and everything.
Even romantic novels
Yeah.
and works from Lord Byron and this and that, right?
Yeah. And finally, the 15 years are about to end.
Yes. Now here the story takes a new turn. Now, banker who was a millionaire 15 years ago has squandered his wealth in all the worldly pursuits. He has gambled at the stock exchange, he has drunk the wine, he has gambled, etc. But now he is not a millionaire. And the thought comes to his mind that tomorrow at 12 o'clock at the appointed hour, if this lawyer comes out of this jail, then he will be entitled to acquire 2 million.
Because he would have won the bet.
Yeah, if he pays him the 2 million, he will be reduced to utter poverty. So now he says it is better that he should die. As soon as this thought comes in his mind, in the dead hours of the night, he goes out into the garden where this lawyer is living
in the lodge. Yeah.
in the lodge, and in the light of the candle, he tries to open the door and finds that this man has been reduced to just a skeleton, right? He appears older than his age. He's 40, but he appears more than 60. He says that it is really easy to simply kill this man and nobody is going to know about it. But all of a sudden his eyes catch hold of
Piece of paper.
yeah, something is
Whereupon-
written on
yeah.
that paper, and this is a really turning point. What is there in the paper?
Yeah, the lawyer has written that tomorrow I will be going out of this solitary confinement and I will have won the 2 million bet. But then in these 15 years, I have read each and everything which is worth reading. I have explored the world through the books, and I now intend not to get my prize of the bet, because this world, even with the 2 million which I will be winning in the bet, and which I hold it as heaven. I looked upon it as heaven initially, but now I realize that it is worth nothing, because this earthly life, this life as we are living it, is worth nothing. With all the sufferings, with all the joys, ultimately a person is reduced to a skeleton, and all of us are condemned to die, and after our death nobody would even realize that we had existed with all our trials and tribulations. So I intend to break the covenant before 5 hours, and I wish to just disappear from here.
As soon as banker reads these lines,
Yeah.
Tears roll down in his eyes. He feels guilty, perhaps. He puts the paper as it is on the table and simply goes away. And in the morning, when he comes to find out what has happened, really, the lawyer has disappeared in
Through the window, he goes in the garden and disappears.
Disappears.
Guard reports it to the banker.
Yeah.
Banker comes and collects that paper of renunciation of 2 million and keeps it in his safe.
Really, the story throws the question open: who wins the bet?
Yeah, that's a moot question. It's not at all easy. In a way, banker has won the bet, because the lawyer, number one, has renounced 2 million, but not only that, he has broken the covenant. He could not complete the 15 years in solitary confinement, so to say.
Exactly. But at the higher level, our sympathies are with the lawyer.
Yeah.
Even if he has not won the bet in the worldly sense, but in the moral sense, but in the in the world of the psychology, perhaps, or in the spiritual world, you can say he has won the bet.
And it was not at all difficult for him to complete remaining 5 years.
5
hours, yeah, that on the same day he disappears.
Yes.
It was not at all impossible or not at all difficult for him to win the bet, and morally he has won it also.
Exactly.
But the point is that here he is transformed.
Yes.
Initially, he looked upon life as something worth cherishing at any cost.
And having 2 millions would be a miracle to him. He had thought that he would enjoy life with these 2 millions.
But then through and through, as he doesn't experience the life firsthand, but he's cut off from the human company. But as they say, books are one's best friend. So he's immersed in the books. and he experiences the life vicariously. He realizes what it is about, what it is to grow up, what it is to marry. He says, I have made love to many beautiful women through the books.
I have founded the religions, I have founded the cities, I have fought the wars. Every experience,
every aspect of life he has vicariously experienced through the books, and ultimately he realizes the futility of the life as we know it on earth.
But Rajesh, one very important question that comes in my mind, although he renounces life and clearly says that this world is not worth having, but I would like to ask you, as he has not experienced this world in reality, only he has experienced it at the emotional level, perhaps at the imaginative level, so how far it is authentic on his part to say that the life is not worth having?
First of all, he has experienced the world vicariously for last 15 years. For 25 years he was living, and there he entered into the bed that it is better to live at any cost than to perish at once. But then he is cut off from the world, and he experiences it through the books. As Tennyson has said in one of his famous poems, I'm half sick of shadows, she said, in the poem Lady of Shalott. This line occurs, Vinodji. So this is I'm half sick of shadows. So he is entirely sick of shadows now because he has not experienced the world. So perhaps I interpret this story to say that it is better to live at any cost, provided the life is lived in the real sense of the word. If the life is lived at the level of a shadow, being entirely cut off from the human company and just reading about the life, then perhaps it is worse than death.
But I believe that one of the aspects of this story deals with the transformation of mind. If we look at both of the characters, in the period of 15 years, they undergo a transformation.
Definitely, they are round characters.
Banker who is a frivolous, a spoiled young man, towards the end of the 15 years, he has almost becomes a criminal and ready to eliminate the life of prisoner.
And his love of lucre is still there. He values that I should not have to pay 2 million now also.
So his greed has increased and his addiction to the voices continues. But on the other hand, a lawyer who was just 25 at the time of entering the bait, now he's just 40. But his transformation takes perhaps in the different direction. Now he believes that these kind of experiences of the world, perhaps getting married, developing a business and this and that, all these things are not really worth having. Perhaps man is born for higher purposes, because at the story it is not said that he commits a suicide or like that. Simply he disappears. Perhaps he goes out in search of fulfilling his own wisdom. That's quite possible. Hints are thrown. So Anton Chekhov's story operates at many levels. It is not the job of writer to answer the questions. However, the job of the writer is to raise the questions before the readers, and the readers are free to answer them the way they like.
And here the choice was not between the death and the life. The choice was between death and life imprisonment. So here, naturally, in a way, the author maybe suggests that perhaps unlived life is worse than death.
Exactly, that is really fantastic. And Anton Chekhov has profound understanding of human psychology. If you look at the collection of Anton Chekhov, you would find that he touches the subtle corners of human psychology, and I would like to appeal to the listeners and viewers.
There are many other stories by him, like Lament, like Ward Number 6. If the readers also look at those stories, they are also great stories of human psychology.
Yes, definitely. So we conclude to the end of this discussion by making an appeal to the readers that they must take up the reading of Anton Chekhov's works, and also comment in the chat box how you liked this discussion. And if you are satisfied, please subscribe to our channel through Literary Lens. And here we take your leave with the promise that we'll be coming back again very soon. Till that time, we take your leave. I am Dr. Vinod Asudani.
Rajesh Asudani Raqeeb.
Namaskar.
Namaskar.